All right, today we're going to start geometry concepts. So these are things that you've probably seen before in your 5th and 6th grade classes, maybe before, but we're going to kind of explore them a little bit further this time. So today's notes is circumference of a circle. Now, you'll find out later that there's only circumference of a circle, so there's really no necessary reason for me to write that there, but we're going to write circumference of a circle. The essential question today is, what is the relationship between the circumference and the diameter of a circle? Now first I drew a circle here and I labeled certain parts of the circle. So I've got my circle. Right in the center, of course, is called the center. So this dot here is in the center, and what makes this true is it's the same distance from the center to any edge makes it the center. The radius, the radius goes from the center to any edge. I could draw my radius from the center to any edge, and that would be considered or called the radius. Now, the diameter is from one side of the circle to the other side that goes through the center point, so through the middle. So I could draw from one side through the center to the other side, and that would be a diameter. And here are the actual definitions I have for you. First one is a circle. So a circle is a set of points in a plane that are the same distance from a point called the center. So there are all these points that are on this line, this black line here, are the same distance from the center circle. Center point, I should say. Next, circumference. That's the distance around a circle. So very similar to perimeter of a rectangle or some kind of, sided shape. When this doesn't have sides, it's called a circumference, and we're going to go around it. It's called, the distance around is called the circumference. Diameter, the distance across a circle through the center, as we drew above, goes from one side to the other side. It has to go through the center. And last but not least is my radius, and that is the distance from the center of the circle to any point on the circle. So from the middle to any point is considered the radius. Our key concept today, it talks about radius and diameter. So again, I drew a circle, and through the middle of the circle, I drew a diameter, one side to the other side through the center. That's my diameter I'll call D. The radius, if you notice, goes from the center to any edge. And so what we might notice here is that the diameter of a circle is actually twice the radius. So if I take two radiuses, radii, 1 and 2, I put them together, I actually create a diameter. Because remember, the definition of radius is from the center to an edge, and the diameter definition is from edge to edge through the center. So 2 radius make up a diameter, and we find this in this formula. D is equal to 2r. 2 times r is equal to my diameter. Now we can think of this solving for r here. Well, what is a radius? A radius of a circle is half the diameter. So if I already know the diameter, I cut it in half, I find my radius. And so we're given a formula, r equals d divided by 2. So if I already know all the way across, I cut it in half and I find a radius. Or if I already know half of it, I can double my radius and find the diameter. So that's those things going back and forth. So let's take a look at an example. The diameter of a circle is 14 inches. Find its radius. So if I already know that all the way across is 14 inches, I can use this formula that you had above. The radius is diameter divided by 2. And so in this case, it's 14 cut in half. That tells me that each of these sides is 7 and 7. So therefore, the radius is 7 inches. Pretty simple. I have it all the way across, cut it in half, and I find its radius. So now I know that if this is 7, then any point from the center to the edge is going to be 7 inches. All right, so you try. Find the radius given the information. All right, whoa, I gave it to you here. If the diameter is 16 yards, or if the diameter is 100 feet, or if the diameter is 21 centimeters, take a moment and try to get those answers. All right, and so our answers come out to be, radius is 8 yards, because this divided by 2 is 8. 100 feet all the way across, cut in half is 50 feet. And then 21 centimeters, cut that in half, and that's 10.5 centimeters. All right, so we're going to work on another example. The radius of a circle is 8 feet. Find the diameter. So this time we only gave you half. So we're going to think about, I know that diameter is equal to 2 radius. All right, so I just plug that information in. 2 times 8, which gives me 16. Therefore, the diameter here is 16 feet. If I already know halfway, then I can go double it and find out all the way, which is 16. All right, you try these out. Given the diameter, find the given information. All right, so this time I won't let you have any answers. There you go. Try those 3 out and see what you come up with. All right, did you come up with these answers? Radius is 3 feet, so diameter 6. 40 turns into 80. 3.2 turns into 6.4. All I did is I doubled these to get these answers because a radius is only from the center to the edge. So if I double that and go the other side, that gives me my diameter. All right, here's one key concept for you. Another key concept. Key concept, circumference. Circumference is the distance around a circle. Okay, so the circumference of a circle is equal to pi times its diameter. So this is an important one to remember. To find the circumference, I just take pi and I times it by diameter. Now, we just proved in the examples above that a diameter is really the same thing as 2 radius, right? A radius here and a radius here added together. So, or multiplied by 2. So you can think of this diameter is also written as 2r, right? 2 radiuses is equal to a diameter. So in your book, you're going to notice that it's written, this right here is written like this, 2 pi r. It's the same thing. You're multiplying pi, 2, and r together. They just determine to put the 2 in front, making a coefficient. Then they put their pi, then they put the r. Okay, so just a little side note for you to remember. Okay, so a couple things for you to keep in mind. Pi, remember that pi is equivalent or approximately 3.14, not equivalent, approximate. It's about 3.14. The number keeps on going. It's an irrational number, but we go ahead and just round it to 3.14. You might have also learned that it could also be written as 22 over 7, which again is an approximation. It's close to there. So you can use this or that. Now your question might be, well then when should I use 22 over 7 instead of 3.14? Well, it's kind of up to you, but I will give you, there's a little hint to that. You're going to use 22 over 7 instead of 3.14 when the radius or the diameter is a multiple of 7. We're going to see this next example and you're going to see what I mean by that. Okay, so it says find the circumference of a circle with a radius of 14. So 14, take a look and I say, all right, so I know circumference is equal to 2 times pi times r. So it's going to look like 2 times pi. Now this time I decided to use 22 over 7. Why? Because this here, this 14, is a multiple of 7. That helps me out when I get to this next step because I can do some cross-canceling, right? The 14 and the 7, they simplify to 2 and 1. And now I can just multiply 2 times 22 over 1, which is 22, times 2 over 1, which is 2. I can multiply that without even using a calculator, and I get approximately 18 whatever units. We didn't state that above. Okay, so could I have used 3.14? Sure, I could have used 3.14, but then I'm going to probably have to use some kind of calculator to figure out an approximate answer. And that's what I show you just below. I said, look, if you decided to use 3.14 for pi instead of 22 over 7, it looks something like this. And when I did this, I got 87.92 approximately. I used the calculator to get this. Now you can see that these two answers are really close to each other. And because they're approximations, if I got either of these answers, I'd be okay with that because they're close. They're just saying, hey, it's about 88. 87.92 is right there as well. Okay, I want you to try a couple out here. So this is our last part of our notes. Find the approximate circumference of each circle using 22 over 7 or 3.14. All right, so look, I've got my circle. I know that my circumference is equal to 2 pi r, right? Could also be written as pi times diameter. Question is, which one of these do we use? Well, let's take a look. I'm going to use this one. Circumference is equal to pi times diameter. Okay, pi, I decide to use 22 over 7 for pi because I look at my diameter and it's 70. And I say, well, I'll explain to you in a second why I use that. I can do some cross-canceling here. Then I end up with 22 times 10, which I can do in my head, 220 centimeters. So it's approximately 220 centimeters. Notice I used circumference equal to pi times diameter, not the other one. Why did I do that? Because I wasn't given a radius. I was given a diameter. So it'd make a lot more sense just to use the number I have there and times it by pi. If I did this one, I'd have to cut this in half, make it 35, then double it again to get 70. Why do all that? Just use that. It's already given to you. The other thing I want you to notice is, why did I use 22 over 7? Well, because 70 was a multiple of 7, and it allowed me to do some cross-canceling. If it wasn't, if it was like, I don't know, 72, for instance, I wouldn't be able to do cross-canceling. It wouldn't make my life any easier, so then I would just go ahead and use 3.14. Let's try another example. What if I give you this circle here? Which of these two are you going to use? Well, take a look what I did. I decided to use the second one. Why? Because they gave me a radius. Why have to double that and then use the diameter one? Don't have to do that. I'm going to do that here anyway. Here, notice what I also used. I also used 3.14 for pi. Okay? Came an approximate answer of 11.3 centimeters. Okay? Again, why did I use this one instead of this one this time? Well, because they gave me a radius, so I might as well just use that formula. And the reason I use 3.14 is 1.8 is not a multiple of 7. Not easily, so I can just, if I'm going to use a calculator, I might as well just use 3.14. Okay? And that's what I wrote right there. All right, be ready with questions for tomorrow's class. Thank you very much.